Story 1. We had two children. One went to school for music, earned his doctorate, and is now the chair of his department. The other is a registered sex offender. Story 2. He studied law and interned at a prestigious law firm. He was offered a contract before finishing his degree and became the youngest non-equity partner in the firm's history. Later, he became the youngest equity partner in the firm's history. He also convinced them to give him 2 days off a week to engage in pro bono and charity work as a lawyer. He remains a limited partner in the original firm but also runs his own organization that provides legal services to those most in need across various aspects of law. He is married to his college girlfriend, has 2 kids, and still makes time to meet up with friends. He has never boasted about his success, and people often learn about his achievements through third parties. If anyone ever needed help, he would do everything in his power to assist. To top it all off, he can still dominate the football pitch at 46 years old. Story 3. My school has the top student in each category. The 2 voted most likely to succeed were dating and went off to the same college. They are married now, living back in our hometown in a trailer with many children. They may not be financially successful, but they are happy. I suppose it was right in a way. Story 4. I saw his parents at a community event in the summer of 2023. They mentioned that he attended the Massachusetts Institute of Technology but left by his junior year. He then moved to an off-grid farm in Colorado and is living in a zero-waste community. They haven't heard from him in over a year and wanted to visit him to ensure he is safe. We graduated from high school in 2012. Story 5. He developed a rare medical disorder that causes intense discomfort throughout his body, and he expects to have a shortened lifespan. Despite this, he continues to be a smart, creative individual pursuing his passion as a screenwriter. I do not know what the disorder is. I just remember seeing several pictures of him on social media in hospital gowns discussing how he would face this bravely. We were not particularly close. Story 6. He succeeded. He received a full scholarship to Stanford, graduated with dual master's degrees in chemical engineering and economics, and earned an MBA from Wharton. For about 15 years, he was highly compensated for various confidential work and retained around 7 patents used in manufacturing. He retired in his late 30s and now enjoys surfing around the world and engaging in philanthropic activities, along with some entrepreneurial ventures. He is a nice guy, reminiscent of a kind of sad-eyed surfer type, but incredibly intelligent. Someone asked how intelligent he was, so I will share a brief story. He was a surfer who actually considered going professional for a while and was sponsored. He spent a lot of time surfing even before school, which made him a bit weary. He would often be found dozing in the back of class. However, he was a straight-A student, so teachers gave him some leeway because they recognized his intelligence and knew he would excel on tests. This continued until our advanced placement math class, in which we had a new teacher during our regular teacher's medical leave. The new teacher had a problem with anyone who seemed to be lazing about, including the sleepy student. One day, the teacher wrote a problem on the board and decided it was time to embarrass him. "Hey, you asleep in the back?" He stirred and looked up groggily, replying, "Yes, come up and solve this." He yawned, squinted at the board, walked up, and wrote the answer. As he started to turn around to return to his seat, the teacher looked perplexed and asked, "How?" "I worked it out in my head. Do you need the work written out?" When he received a no, he walked back, put his head down, and resumed sleeping. It might seem like a fluke, but this happened regularly. When people called on him, he would ask for the question again, take a moment, and respond correctly. I had a few more questions pop up about him, so I will address some of them quickly. Were his parents intelligent? Yes, both of his parents were very smart. His mother was great with numbers, and his father worked at a think tank, though they never went into detail about it. His mother attended California Institute of Technology, and his father attended an Ivy League school but never specified which one. The nice thing about them was that they were normal parents, little league pizza parties and the like. They never pressured him and always spoke to him like an adult rather than talking down to him. Was he smart in everything? No, and he admitted this when I asked him. Math? Easy. Science? Easier. Physics? Laughably easy. He said these concepts rolled around in his mind, allowing him to calculate them effortlessly. He had a knack for numbers. However, he identified his weaknesses as literature, philosophy, and languages. Interpretation sometimes tripped him up, like trying to grasp what was meant. That didn't prevent him from getting A's, he just had to work harder for them. Was he weird, withdrawn, or looking down on others? In my honest opinion, he was pretty normal. He never flaunted his intelligence or considered himself superior to others. Story 7. After pursuing her interests for a while, she became a yoga instructor and married an affluent older man. She and her husband, along with his 2 children from a previous marriage, all died when the small private plane he was piloting crashed on the way to their private ski lodge. Story 8. He is a world-famous musician married to a supermodel, John Stevens, also known as John Legend. He was the senior class president and had perfect attendance for all 13 years of school, from kindergarten through his senior year. Story 9. One is a pediatric hospitalist and the other is a mathematics professor. We came from a very underfunded school district in the Rust Belt region of Appalachia, which most people do not leave. It is nice to see them and others succeed. Story 10. It amazes me that anyone remembers these things. I have no idea who was voted for what in my yearbook. I didn't know at the time, and I certainly don't know now. Story 11. She committed suicide during her 3rd year of university. She knew she was unwell and was admitted to a large mental health ward in downtown Vancouver, British Columbia. She started to improve and they granted her a day pass, but she tragically jumped off the Lions Gate Bridge. Story 12. She studied law, practiced at a firm for a while, and then became a county magistrate. She never spoke ill of anyone, and no one spoke ill of her. Story 13. 2 of the top students in my class, killed by a hit-and-run driver while out for a run a couple of years after high school. The driver was never found. Murdered by her boyfriend, and her body was dumped. Her body was never found. There was a prison show in which her boyfriend was interviewed while imprisoned for her murder. It was surreal. Story 14. Caught 7 felonies for drugs and guns within a year of graduating. He didn't serve any real time and avoided most of the consequences. He got his girlfriend pregnant, and she left before the baby was born. He stopped being allowed to see his daughter shortly after her birth. Unable to find a job, he took care of his sick grandfather until he passed away. Then he overdosed the same night. His mother, an only child, lost her father and only son on the same day. She hasn't been the same since. Story 15. She was the valedictorian and was doing really well for herself. Then, she was diagnosed with chronic medical conditions during her 1st year of college and ended up having to drop out. I just checked her Facebook. It looks like she graduated from college at 34, but better late than never. I'm glad she was finally able to get her life back. Story 16. He is in the executive suite of a large investment firm, which is quite accurate. Interestingly, other individuals from my small high school have also found success in the arts. Story 17. He grew up and became extremely attractive. He was the kid in class with glasses, braces, and weighed 90 pounds soaking wet. He attended the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and Harvard, married a beautiful woman, and is now a vice president at JP Morgan in Asia. He is the nicest guy in the world, whose family were refugees who went through many struggles. He truly deserves everything good in his life. Edit. Apparently, being a vice president isn't seen as successful by some on Reddit. I checked his LinkedIn and he is now an executive director. Story 18. She succeeded. She was a track athlete and an incredible student. She is currently at Harvard and on her way to the Olympics in 2028. Story 19. They had both female and male superlatives in my graduating class. The young woman is a successful software engineer at a well-known company. The young man struggled with drugs and never graduated from college or left our small hometown, at least as far as I know before we lost touch. Story 20. I left university with a plan to take a couple of years off, filled with some menial retail jobs while I planned my startup company. The latter never took off and I am still working in retail at 35. Story 21. I was voted that. I work in homeowners insurance, have a dog, and drive a 2017 Altima. It can be quite boring. Story 22. Video editor who has done commercial work for many large companies and music videos for famous artists. I am very happy for him. He is a great person and deserves this success. Story 23. I was voted most likely to succeed. I was an ambitious and slightly above average student in high school, and I believe I received this recognition because I was highly involved in a student business organization. I was also voted best hair, but that was just for bragging rights. I barely completed my bachelor's degree with a 2.7 grade point average due to struggles with my mental health and the pandemic. Now, I find myself in a challenging entry-level research position where I am paid the lowest in my department despite being the most senior employee, as the company experiences high turnover. However, my personal life is flourishing, and I consider that to be my true marker of success. I have a wonderful partner whom I trust and admire. I love my beautiful home. I have 2 pets I adore, and I have a close circle of creative, funny, and open-minded friends. When I compare my life to that of my peers, I think I am happier than most. I believe in myself, I feel grounded in my personal values, and I know that a low-paying job does not define my worth. Story 24. Straight A's. I used to leave school to study math and science at the local Ivy League college. I scored perfect on the ACT. He stole my girlfriend during senior year. I ran into him at the game store last week. He tried to offer me nothing for my PlayStation virtual reality headset. Story 25. We had a guy and a girl for each most likely to XYZ. So, for most likely to succeed, the guy is likely involved with online trading, winning and losing money at random. He lives somewhere near where he grew up with the same friends and so on. He has a regular 9-to-5 job at a bank, allowing him to socialize with people like a normal person. The girl attended medical school, graduated 3rd in her class, and was hired at a large hospital. She worked her way up to become a leader in her field, married someone, and is now expecting her 2nd child. I would wager they are both extremely successful and happy with where their lives have taken them. Story 26. The student who was most likely to succeed in my 1966 high school class in Vietnam was also the top student from middle school through high school. He became a high school teacher in Saigon until he retired. Students 2 and 3 became doctors. Both were able to flee to the United States in 1975 when Saigon fell. They requalified as doctors there and practiced medicine until they retired. Student 4 received a scholarship to study in America. He returned to Vietnam in 1972 to work as a foreign investment promotion specialist for the government until the fall of Saigon to the communists in 1975. He was then sent to a re-education camp. However, the communists abruptly pulled him out of the camp when they needed his expertise in crafting and leading programs to attract and manage foreign investment. He worked in this area for 3 years while secretly planning and successfully implementing an escape by boat for himself and 19 other people to Malaysia. From there, he was able to be admitted to the United States as a refugee. In the United States, he became a software engineer, then a Software Engineering Institute Capability Maturity Model Lead Appraiser, then a process improvement lead for a major consulting firm until retirement. Students 4 and 6 were drafted into the South Vietnamese Army. They both spent nearly 15 years in North Vietnamese concentration camps, referred to as re-education camps by the communists, but were also allowed to emigrate to the United States. There, they became grocers, opening their own grocery stores selling Asian food products. Story 27. It was me, a mechanical engineering undergraduate with a 3.87 GPA. I was hired into the automotive industry, and my employer paid for graduate school in automotive systems engineering, where I achieved a 4.0 GPA. I managed to buy a house in 2023, which I share with my loving husband and dog. Our first child is on the way, and I am currently in the 36th week of pregnancy. I am feeling quite abundant. Story 28. She is a trauma surgeon who lives in a beautiful city with a pleasant climate, far from the industrial town we graduated from. Story 29. Graduated from Harvard Business School. He works at his dad's company focusing on mergers and acquisitions. He earns a substantial income and maintains an impressive physique. He was engaged to a woman, but their relationship did not last. Additionally, he was tragically murdered by a disturbed 12-year-old girl. Story 30. A millionaire real estate developer, known for dating celebrities and being a leader in his church, also identified as gay. Story 31. Without needing to go to class, she received a 0.0 in her first semester of college and was dismissed. I have no information beyond that. She is a very nice girl, so I hope everything is working out for her. Story 32. She obtained her undergraduate degree in nursing and worked as a nurse missionary in Africa for a few years. She returned to college to earn a master's degree in public health and worked for a state-level public health department for several years. She started medical school at 28, graduated, and is now working on her residency in general surgery. It is an interesting path to becoming a doctor. Story 33. He got married, and they went to an island to work with Bible translators to provide Bibles to some indigenous groups. During this time, his wife managed to have 6 children. My high school was exceedingly religious, so by their standards, he is absolutely succeeding. Story 34. It was me. I guess I did okay. I think I succeeded, married with 4 dogs. I don't think I am the father. Story 35. Straight A student. She could have received a scholarship at the top university and finished at the top of her class. Medicine, law, you name it. She could have done it. Instead, she received a scholarship at a prestigious school where she studied to become a teacher and, of course, finished at the top of her class again. Now, she teaches young children ages 5 to 12 at a school. It is what she enjoys. She was my best friend's best friend, but I haven't heard from her in a long time. Story 36. He married an accountant and gave up a software development career to pursue data analysis and video game development as a hobby while responding to this question. Story 37. She sadly died after finishing her first year at Harvard. While traveling in Europe for work, she slipped from a waterfall into a whirlpool at the base and drowned. Came as a huge shock to everyone. She was a brilliant individual and kind to everyone. It isn't fair that she was taken so soon with so much ahead of her. The world was truly a better place with her in it. We still can't get over the fact that she is gone forever and we will never see her again. I always remember her kindness and strive to show that same kindness to the people around me. Story 38. Works on Wall Street for one of the major banks, which is quite impressive considering we are from a small town in rural Ontario, Canada. Story 39. Ken died of brain cancer during his first year of medical school. I married his female counterpart. It is our second marriage. We are both 76 years old now. Story 40. Not the most successful person, but a friend of mine was voted most likely to change the world the year before I was. He was shot in the back of the head while getting off the subway just into his second year of college. He died, unfortunately. The shooter was a complete stranger. My friend was a bubbly, energetic person who made you smile and filled you with enthusiasm for whatever you were doing. He was a passionate environmentalist, and it is partly because of him that I decided to pursue a doctorate in an environment-related field. Story 41. I was voted most likely to succeed. I was smart, but not the smartest in school, so it came as a surprise. I earned a significant amount of scholarship money to a private school in the Northeast and graduated magna cum laude with 0 debt. I began a full-time job less than a month after graduating college and worked my way up to a director role in the same company over the past 7 years. I take home a comfortable salary and work completely remotely. I made a significant move over 1,000 miles to another state at 26 and bought my first home at 27. I have cash savings, a retirement plan, and excellent credit. I was in a difficult relationship for 10 years, though, so it's not all sunshine and roses. Thankfully, the relationship never deterred me from the benchmarks and goals I set for myself in life. And I'm out of it now, so things are looking bright. Story 42. That would be me. I didn't in the traditional sense. However, that's in the eye of the beholder, which is also me. I have a family, a house, and my dream SUV that fits all the kids. Also, I have a handicap of 6 in golf, so I guess I did succeed. I am still pursuing a lower handicap. Story 43. One of them is a college professor in oceanography. The other is a self-employed writer and editor. Story 44. Music major became a church choir director and married the president of a community bank, who went to prison for financial fraud. Good job. Story 45. I went to an Ivy League school, had a lot of experiences, and got really into cocaine. I graduated, continued with cocaine, and now have a typical corporate job that pays just enough to be comfortable, meet women, and afford a little bit of cocaine as a treat. I would say I did pretty well for myself. Story 46. She runs a children's summer camp, has a beautiful family, and is very happy. She is a wonderful person and deserves all the good things that happen to her. Story 47. She couldn't get into medical school and eventually dropped out of college. She became pregnant by a local man over 10 years older than her and now works at the front desk of a law office in the mid-sized city where I grew up. She is a nice girl, and I don't take any joy in her lack of success. But high school is just a brief moment in life. It's not the real world. On the other hand, the school troublemaker who always skipped class and got into fights now owns a profitable custom motorcycle shop in Las Vegas. He is also active in charitable foundations that help bully children and helps run programs to get kids interested in trade schools. Story 48. I developed serious mental health issues and nearly died several times. Now I have a simple, quiet life with few friends, but I enjoy being alive again. Story 49. He is a Grammy-nominated violinist currently touring the nation with a Broadway production. And she is a successful attorney in the Bay Area. I am so happy for them both, to be honest. Story 50. She almost lost her life. Right after high school, she was in an abusive relationship. He moved her in, and they attended the university she always swore she would graduate from. She ended up having to drop out and go to treatment for a new alcohol habit and an eating disorder. She endured violent sexual assault that nearly cost her life. Now, she is still picking up the pieces. The girl most likely to succeed didn't even want that title in the first place. All she wanted was to be loved. She got out, though, and she is doing a little better. I am proud of myself, even if I didn't succeed in the ways others assumed. Story 51. The most successful child in school became a well-known lawyer in my hometown and opened a law firm. The least successful child started a lawn and landscaping business, where he undercut the competition and grew his business to the point of expansion into other states. He is also very successful. Both of them have advertising billboards around town and run local commercials on television. The most successful child ended up representing the least successful child in court over a contract bidding dispute with the same district they both attended and won the lawsuit and contract. Story 52. She is a doctor now. We used to be best friends in middle school, but we don't really talk anymore since we joined separate friend groups. However, we still text happy birthday to each other every year. I'm just supporting her from afar. Story 53. Our school held a Best Student Award. The top male student became an environmental scientist and now works for the Environmental Protection Agency. The top female student is on her third or fourth multi-level marketing venture and tried to recruit people at the 30th reunion. I disliked her as she was a major bully, so it makes me happy that karma has caught up with her. Story 54. That was me. I do not feel like I succeeded. I am also pretty sure it was meant as a joke since I skipped award day. Story 55. I won this award in high school and I am honestly not doing well. I have pretty much experienced a complete failure to launch. I haven't been able to keep a job for more than a year in the 10 years of adulthood I have had. I am living in low-income housing and struggling to afford it. However, I am too old to live with my parents anymore. I flunked out of college, am chronically single, and cannot keep a job for more than a year at the longest due to mental health issues. They misunderstood me entirely back then, as it seems I am the type of person who peaked in high school. I feel like I will be lucky to even make it to 40 at the rate I am going. Story 56. We didn't have a most likely to succeed category, but I was voted most likely to become an auctioneer. I didn't become an auctioneer, but I did succeed. Story 57. I am a middle manager at a Fortune 200 company. It is not exactly what most consider success, but I was raised as one of 6 in a low-income family and attended college thanks to an academic scholarship. Compared to the typical trajectory for someone with my background, I have succeeded in overcoming the odds, which I am proud of. Story 58. I flunked out of school, lost my girlfriend of 10 years, and my brother passed away recently. I am now an apprentice electrician. I thought in high school I would become a marketing professional or do YouTube full-time. This was in the late 2000s. I made a lot of good choices, but then I made all the wrong ones. I am trying once again to do what is right. Story 59. It was me, actually. They were right. I succeeded. I was a gay boy who straddled both the honors class nerds and the drama geeks, but I left my small town in the South and have never looked back. My parents don't live there anymore, and I haven't been back in over 10 years. I attended a large university outside my state because I received a scholarship. It wasn't a prestigious institution, but I specifically wanted to go to a college where no one else from my school was going, so no one knew who I was. I worked through a lot of the teenage trauma around my sexuality and fell into a great group of mostly queer friends that I'm still close with 20 years later, even though some of us live across the world from one another. I earned good grades along the way. I have built a successful career in finance, moved to Los Angeles after college, then New York City, and now living in London. I paused to earn a Master of Business Administration from a very prestigious institution during that time. To the best of my knowledge, I am the only person from my small town living in the United Kingdom. One other person I know of lives in Europe, and we're actually planning to meet up this year. There's still a small part of me that wishes I had shown up to my 20-year high school reunion to essentially brag to a group of mostly backward people, but I try to rise above. Story 60. He lost a close family member while in college, went off the rails and turned to drugs, lived in his truck at times, and ultimately met a good woman who helped him turn his life around. He is me. The other person married into the wealthiest family in Atlanta and is now a freelance writer. Story 61. I married her. She received a full scholarship to Vanderbilt University and now teaches English as a second language at the college level. While teaching, she worked in the English as a second language department as an administrator. Story 62. We had 2 because our class had over 1,000 students. Unfortunately, one person died of a brain aneurysm at 18, about 3 months after graduation. It was a very sad story. They were genuinely a nice person. The other graduated from Princeton University and used their parents' money to become the CEO of what is now a large cybersecurity company. They married a doctor and travel extensively. They are living the dream. Story 63. He went on Jeopardy and won a few episodes. She didn't fit in at college. She became severely depressed and took her own life. She was an extremely sweet person. I never associated with her in high school, but through a mutual friend, we were at the beach together about a month before she passed away. My wife met her there, and the 2 of them spent all day and night together. She stayed at our house that night, crashing on our sofa. They exchanged numbers, but the one time she reached out to my wife, she was unavailable to hang out. Within 2 weeks, she was gone. My wife still feels awful about it nearly 15 years later. This made me curious about who the female winner was, so I actually dug out a yearbook. That was a mistake. Story 64. I was one of 2. I have had a great career as a chief executive officer and chief operating officer for various companies, with many exciting adventures around the world for work and play, and numerous fantastic stories from the friends I have made. Most importantly, I have raised an amazing daughter, and I am about to marry the most incredible and beautiful woman I have ever met. I feel that I have indeed been highly successful. The other was smarter than I, and one of my closest friends in high school. She changed her name during her sophomore year of college and, as I understand it, was an escort for a while. She served a short prison sentence for fraud, and we all lost track of her after that. Story 65. I attended Dartmouth and developed several health problems that remain undiagnosed. I lead a reclusive lifestyle. Although I was the class clown and often made mistakes, I started a fantasy football initiative. I'm not extremely wealthy, but I am likely the most successful in terms of money earned. Story 66. They were a high school couple. They got married and attended a religious college. After some time, they went on a missionary trip abroad. They returned several years later, only to find out that the Bible college they attended was not accredited. He is not a teacher, and she is not a nurse. They are largely supported by the church that influenced their choice of college and contributed to their current situation. Story 67. Well, let's see. I thought I wanted a career directing television shows and movies. However, my mother, who couldn't stand the thought of me being too far from home, convinced me to turn down a full-ride National Merit Scholarship at Boston University. Instead, I earned a degree in broadcasting from Texas Tech. That turned out to be unhelpful, and I struggled for a while. Eventually, I joined the Air Force out of desperation. That turned into a successful military career, during which I traveled around the world for 24 years. Along the way, I earned a master's degree in criminal justice. Now, retired from active duty, I live full-time in Germany, where I design large-scale wartime simulation scenarios to train US and NATO joint forces to work together more effectively. I'm married to the love of my life, and we have amazing adult children whom we're helping to pursue their dreams while trying to avoid passing along the traumas our parents inflicted on us. Meanwhile, our class valedictorian rebelled against her ultra-religious parents, became pregnant right after graduation, married her drug-addict boyfriend, and promptly disappeared. I'm from a small town in New Mexico. The high school classmates I know of who are successful these days are mostly those who manage to escape and find opportunities elsewhere. Story 68. The woman is a full professor at the same Ivy League university she attended. The man attended the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and last I heard is a car designer, as he hoped to be when we graduated. Both are married and have at least one child. Story 69. He went on to become a scientist, attended the top medical school in America, and was declared one of the top 10 minds in the country. He essentially rewrote the book on treatments for multiple types of rare, previously deemed untreatable cancers. I'm 33, and he's already retired. He also invented numerous treatment types and medical supplies, and the patents alone have made him extremely wealthy. He does philanthropic work all over the globe in impoverished countries. He invented a solar tractor to replace oxen in African countries, which is quite remarkable. He enjoys hosting parties and has an impressive mansion in the hills. His neighbors complained about the noise from his gatherings, so he bought their mansion for significantly more than it's worth. His parties resemble those of the Great Gatsby, complete with live entertainment, shows, and elaborate themes. I attended a few of his gatherings before having kids, and it was quite the experience. Overall, he is an interesting person. He often seems somewhat socially awkward, reminiscent of the Joe Rogan podcast with Elon Musk, where there is a noticeable delay in processing responses. He tends to take several seconds to think about what you've said before replying with just a few words. Story 70. In high school, we didn't have most likely to succeed, but I did tie for smartest person and was voted most likely to become a lawyer and most likely to be president. This was all at my second high school, as I was expelled from the first one for selling marijuana. I wasn't a bad kid, just poor, entrepreneurial, and wanting to be cool and have nice things. I was the kid who could skip class, get suspended, or show up high and still ace every test. I could engage in deep intellectual debates with my teachers and scored a 32 on my ACT. I was very socially conscious and politically aware for a teenager in the late 1990s and early 2000s. I read history books, philosophies, physics books, works by James Baldwin, comic books, science fiction, encyclopedias, anything I could get my hands on. I listened to all types of music except country. My family were huge movie collectors of VHS and DVDs. I grew up shifting between lower and middle class multiple times in my young life, and books, music, and movies were my way to explore the world. My dad was a civil engineer, and my mom was a beautician. There were 6 of us all together. At various times, we had to live with my grandmother and other relatives while my dad dealt with workplace discrimination and my mom earned her degree while living above our means to keep us in a good school district. Even with all that, my parents were the pillars for our extended family. I loved information and learning, but I was a terrible student. Ironically, my teachers liked me and would suspend me at the end of each school year for 2 weeks, allowing me to complete all the work I missed just so I wouldn't fail. I was friends with every clique but had a tight-knit group of friends. I was somehow the class clown, everyone's trusted confidant, and the kid to carry a team project. I was in the band, debate club, and mock trial, and I could freestyle rap and battle rap with the best of them. I hung out with both real gangsters and comic book nerds. During summers, I worked as a computer technician and also had a gig as an engineering technician at an engineering firm, all while still in high school. I started college as a pre-law major at a prestigious Jesuit university on a scholarship I managed to secure because of my ACT scores and the fact they had only 5 black students. However, the party life with privileged kids derailed my plans, and I ended up floating between the streets and my parents' home for a few years. I attempted to start a record label, which secured one record deal with Universal before it fizzled out. Next, I moved out of town working retail while doing temporary tech jobs. Eventually, I turned a temporary position into a permanent job for 4 years. I then ran my own tech company, despite sleeping in my car for a few months while hiding my homelessness and depression and not wanting to burden anyone. Through sheer determination, I built my business and improved my mental health. For a decade, I thrived in tech consulting and coding for companies and individuals, modifying gaming systems and phones and building custom technology. I wasn't rich, but I was content, prioritizing people's happiness over profits. I taught myself to invest and did well trading stocks and options. When the COVID-19 pandemic happened, business slowed down, but my past experiences provided me the resilience needed when others fell into despair and isolation. I was able to shift into the corporate world, landing a managerial role at a global technology company, training technicians to repair and reprogram phones and computer systems. Later, I secured a better-paying tech position at another well-known global technology company, working on and building various devices for financial, telecommunications, and social media giants. I married 2 years ago and have a beautiful wife. I welcomed a 16-year-old stepchild, now 18, and had my first biological child at 40. Now, at 41, I own a 10-acre oasis where I spend my days when not traveling for work. I've quit smoking marijuana to be a better role model for my stepchild, who reminds me a lot of my younger self. I continue coding and building tech projects to keep myself intellectually stimulated. I still read a lot and crave information. I've become a pillar for my extended family. I'm deeply involved in my community, both politically and socially. People are encouraging me to run for a local or county office in the next election cycle, and who knows, maybe one day I'll actually be in office. For now, I'm enjoying raising my family and looking forward to whatever adventure comes next. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.